Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia. News, not breaking news anymore because I broke this during the summary. Um, the Gazprom has cut gas supply to Poland and Bulgaria. So this is an article that I have posted onto Defense Politics Asia's website, and so I zoomed in so that it's easier for you to read. So there's the headline. So let me go through quickly and give you a general, macro picture of what is happening. So Gazprom has cut off gas supply to Poland and Bulgaria because they didn't make payment in Russian rubles, and they had actually warned against these two countries from trying to siphon or take any gas supplies that is meant for other European customers, or they will be or the supply will be actually be reduced according to how much they have siphoned from these customers. So technically, they're going to make Poland and Bulgaria, to be some kind of a criminal by stealing from their own friends. So Bulgaria actually had made their payment in dollars in this month, and the payment is actually due on the 1st of April. And Gazprom, and then now they are accusing Gazprom for violating existing agreements. However, because Russia demanded rubles, so when they pay in dollars, the Russians don't really take it as they have paid. So this guy is actually Alexander Nikolov, the Bulgarian Minister of Energy. So he said Bulgaria will not negotiate under pressure and will not bow its head. And then the Prime Minister Kirill Petkov also add on that we will not succumb to such a racket. So the Bulgarian Energy Minister added that his country has secured gas through alternative sources, and there will be no need for consumption restriction as of now. So Bulgaria has started receiving Russian gas through this third stream pipeline from the 1st of January 2020. This is after they have signed $1.2 billion US dollars contract with the Saudi-led Arcad Group to build the 474 kilometers pipeline across its own territory. In September 2019, that's only 2 to 3 years ago, they actually burned $1.2 billion into this pipeline that they now decided not to use. So in Bulgaria, though, some articles I saw might kind of represented. Bulgaria don't really depend much on Russian gas. So the Russian natural gas is actually in fact, natural gas in Bulgaria is actually in a very low consumption. They only have a very modest role in the power generation mix, and very low consumption in residential and commercial sector. So only 10% of the industrial consumers which represents 80% of the demand. So 19 of them with the largest individual industrial consumers, which makes chemicals, fertilizer, and glass, as well as some large industrial CHPs. So this is based on the information coming from the Americans. So this is the Prime Minister of Poland, Mateusz I don't know how to pronounce, Wexki. So this is him talking to the parliament. So the Poland Prime Minister Mateusz told his parliament that he thinks that the suspension is a kind of revenge for the new sanctions they are imposing against Russia. So they vow that they will not be caught by the cutoff, which is a kind of a weird statement, like as if Poland can attack Russia economically, but they cannot be on the receiving end. So that's a little weird. And but he also announced that Poland is safe from an energy crisis because of years of effort to secure gas from other countries. So Poland has actually been diversifying their energy mix away from Russia coal, Russia gas. So they are actually good. So according to the AP, the Poland had received notice that Gazprom will be cutting its gas, and then they, as promised and warned and threatened, the gas supplies from the Yamal pipeline is stopped early in the morning of today, which is Wednesday, which is 27th of April. So for me, it's actually not today anymore. So the Minister of Climate and Environment, Anna Moscow, which is interesting this because this is actually translated to Moscow. Poland has the necessary gas reserve and sources of supply that will protect their security for years, which they have independently sorry, I repeat again. So supply that protects their security for years. They have been effectively independent from Russia. So their warehouse is now 76% full. So there will be no shortage of gas in Polish homes. So this is according to the Minister of Climate and Environment. So on top of that, the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen also announced that Poland and Bulgaria will now receive gas from the EU neighbors. So she said, this girl said, we will ensure that Gazprom's division has the least possible impact on European consumers. Then she happily announced that Kremlin has failed once again in its attempt to sow division among member states, and the era of Russian fossil fuel in Europe is coming to an end. So that's quite a huge declaration by the European Commission. So let's take a look at the CSI, the Country Stability Index of Poland, and then later we'll go to Bulgaria. So Poland is actually doing very well at 85 points upon 100. So they have a very good, quite a good GDP at 674 billion in 2021. So average income for Polish people is around $1,270 which is actually pretty decent. The only issues they have is that their parliament is currently in a political deadlock, because the ruling party and opposition is actually very, very close in terms of numbers. So oops, I forgot to deduct this, and then so they will actually be 80. So they have mass protests. Wait, okay, this is actually this 85 is correct. I just forgot to change this. I will amend this. And then the society, in the society, they have a lot of protests lately. So they have protests. They have a farmer protest, and complaining that they are lacking attention. And then they also have an air traffic protest where at one of the air traffic control, like 30% of the staff quit, and then the other half decided to threaten to quit. So I think not 30%, but maybe 10-20% have actually quit. So that created some kind of a big issue to the traffic control over in Poland. And of course, they also have a war protest that is in support of Ukraine and in opposition against the Russian, and they are trying to pressure Poland to do more for Ukraine. Economically, they do not have a high unemployment rate. The unemployment rate in March is actually 5.4%, which is far below the high unemployment mark we have on the CSI. And their GDP is actually very good, growing at 7.3%. So no issue with negative GDP growth. So they have no food crisis, no fuel crisis, no energy crisis, because they are really well prepared for this day. In terms of the financial wise, they do have a high inflation. In the March of 2022, their inflation rate year on year is actually 11%. So it's actually on the high side. So, but otherwise, they have actually very strong gold reserve, very strong foreign reserve, and they do not have immense debt. Their debt is at 53.8%. So 53.8% is actually below the annual GDP. So that's also very good. So Poland is very well prepared for this confrontation with Russia. So because mass protest isn't really a big problem, because it's not as absolutely crazy kind of mass protest, and I think the political deadlock is the only issue that they are facing other than the high inflation. Of course, the high inflation could be it can be a result of how they are trying to keep everything in control, and that's why they are paying it with printing of money. So that's Poland. So moving down, so this number is actually correct. I forgot to deduct here. In Bulgaria, so in Bulgaria, the head is actually Kirill Petkov, the prime minister. They do have a president, but the real power is actually with the prime minister. So their average income is lesser, much lesser, 803 per month. So you can have a kind of sensing Bulgaria is a much poorer country in comparison, because in terms of GDP, Poland is actually 3 times higher. So they actually also have very secure in terms of security wise. They have no terrorism, no issue, no high crime. But they also have a political deadlock. In fact, Bulgaria had 3 different elections in a single year last year. So they actually had 3 elections last year just to break that political deadlock, which still ended up very much in the deadlock. But it was much worse last year with mass protests complaining about the government and stuff like this. Now they still have mass protests. The protest is regarding fuel price by the truckers, and then there's also a very weird protest by road repair company employees, because the government has not been paying their debt to the road repair companies. So that's a very weird protest. And then of course they also have their own war protest against Russia in the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So they also suffering from high inflation. Their inflation is worse. It's actually at 12.4% in March 2022 year on year. So but otherwise they also have doing very well. They have very low debt. They have a good amount of gold reserve in comparison to their population. They have a good foreign exchange. So no high government debt. They have actually rather low. Their government debt is actually only at 25.1%, among the lowest in Europe actually. So Bulgaria is doing well. So that's why these 2 countries are really aggressive against Russia, because in the macro sense they are actually very, very stable countries. So this is the quick update, or rather a update or a news or a report regarding this cutting of gas supply to Poland and Bulgaria. The impact is going to be harder on Poland and much lesser than on Bulgaria, because Bulgaria don't really depend much, but they sunk $1.2 billion into it, so it's a huge waste of money. But Poland depends a lot more on the Russian gas, but they have their own ways. So let's see if this will actually roll into some kind of impact that they say will not have happened. But I think in the short term they should be all right. And this is the update on the Poland and Bulgarian situation on the cutting of the gas supply. And if you hope to get your gas supply, please click the like button, and if you haven't subscribed, do subscribe, and I will see you in the next update.